This is the Tom Barnard Podcast. Listen live weekday mornings, 8 to 9:30, or anytime you like as a podcast on the Tom Barnard app at tombarnardshow.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever. You're absolutely right, ladies and gentlemen. I love this when I do, because I don't do this before I go on the air so I can have a natural reaction to the headlines of the day. Mm-hmm. I check other stories, but I don't look at the headlines. And this is one of the reasons I don't look at the headlines. Inflation at 3.1% reflects stubborn pricing pressure. In other words, you're going to lose even more money. Wasn't that great news?
What does that mean?
I agree with you. I agree with you. What the hell does that mean? Inflation cooled last month while underlying prices ticked up slightly more than expected. So in other words, what they're saying is it didn't kick up as quickly as they thought. It kicked up and dropped back down. And things are going to cost you more. Well, I will tell you, and I can't say, you would know the people that we went to dinner with last night, but I don't want to drag them into it because it's about dough. Went to a very nice restaurant, and they had, I think, a total of probably 2 bottles of wine with their dinner. There were 6 of us, had a really, really nice dinner. So I said, well, let me just get this. And they said, no. Well, there were 3 guys and 3 women and 3 different families, right? Mm-hmm. So I said, let me just get, they said, no, let's just split it up. Am I ever glad we split it up? The dinner for 6 people, there were a couple bottles of wine, and I don't, drink wine anymore, so I don't know what they ordered, but it must have been pretty good because the bill was $1,100.
Yeah, that's definitely we're going to split this situation.
Let me
the amazing.
Right, if I'm at a dinner like that, I guarantee I'm getting a salad, and then we're not splitting it.
I'll get my own.
I'll cover my Caesar and my lemonade maybe, and I was feeling frivolous, and you guys can get the rest. You can get exactly what you ordered because that is an insane bill.
Yeah.
Well, you will love this. For appetizers, we got a couple of small little 9-inch pizzas, so each one of us had a piece of pizza, and then I had fettuccine bolognese, which is basically spaghetti. That's what it is. Yeah. And that's what I had. Oh, wait a minute. I had a little bit of a dessert too. So I had dessert. I had basically had spaghetti, and I had a piece of pizza. And breaking it down, that would have cost me about $275. I'm like, what? Now that's with the tip. I understand, but. That's the second time that's happened to Catherine and me in the last 6 months. I never thought we'd get to a place where you go out to eat. I mean, it's a wonderful restaurant. It's a very expensive restaurant, I understand. Mm-hmm. But, man, I still to this day, Robert Kraft and I were working together at KSTP AM, 1500 KSTP. He took me out to dinner at the Sheraton downtown Minneapolis, which is no longer there. It was right on Hennepin Avenue. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they tore that building down, but we went to dinner. I guess at the time, 19 years old. Mm-hmm. And so Robert says, let me take you out to dinner. So he takes us out to dinner. We're having a great time. And he gets up to go to the bathroom. They bring the check, and I figured, I got to see how much this is. I was appalled at how expensive it was. I'm like, holy God, I need to make a lot more money if I'm going to get forward in this world. The bill was $40.
Like, geez, Robert, how many grocery stores do you?
Yeah, money bags over there.
But look at the difference. $40 back in those days were like, oh my God, is that a lot of money? Now it's $1,100. Boy, that's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day, I remember it was, $20 would get you a full tank of gas. Like, you could go to the grocery store, you spend $50, you walk out with half the grocery store. Like, the days were good. Now it's not so much.
Things might have changed a little.
Yeah, it's not bad.
You guys ever go back and watch reruns of McHale's Navy? Have you ever even heard of it?
No, I haven't even heard of that show.
If you ever get a chance, because it's, I believe Ernest Borgnine's in it and a couple of different people, really good actors, but it's about, I think Tim Conway, if you remember him from the Carol Burnett show, if you remember Carol Burnett.
Yeah, he looks like he was in it. Joe Flynn.
Joe Flynn was phenomenal. He's the one who used to go, McHale, I could just scream. And that's why Kevin McHale hated me in the end, because I kept going. Every time he'd miss a shot, I'd go, McHale, I could just scream.
Oh, I'm sure he loved that.
Yeah, he and I don't get along too well, unfortunately, but and it's really tough not get along with a guy who's 7 feet tall. You know, it's kind of a it's a bit of a project, I guess is the best way to put it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know. I like I said, what the hell? She was born to be a supermodel. She wants to build a literary empire too. Oh, is that what's her name again? I'm looking at the Wall Street Journal. Like, I can never remember anybody's name from that like modeling thing or that. I have a hard time.
Top model?
Yeah, she's a model. It's Christ. I think her dad lived in Minneapolis for a while. I went to dinner with him one night. What the hell's her name? Let me click on it so I know what the hell I'm talking about here. I mean, she's a stunningly beautiful woman. There's no question about that. Okay, you got her name here anywhere? I'm looking, baby. Boy, they're not. Oh, wait a minute. This says Kaya Gerber. This is not who I thought it was. Her name. Oh, Cindy Crawford. There you go.
Oh, okay.
She's the daughter of supermodel Cindy Crawford. Yeah, that's who I was talking about, is Cindy Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Actually, I got to tell a very quick tale on my friend. Andy Fisher was my best friend my whole entire life. My son Andy is named after him. We're out golfing one time. He goes, Tom, my tempo is way off. It's way off. And I said, well, come up with a 2-word thing so you take the first word back and then the second word down.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, oh, okay. I said, so who are you going to pick? He goes, well, I do think that Cindy Crawford's really pretty. I said, okay, well, it's 2 words, so you can go with Cindy Crawford. He addresses the ball, and he goes, Cindy! I said, no, not out loud.
Andy, let me stop you right there.
I would have
Cindy!
and then just the Crawford as he just tries to rip one down the fairway, yeah.
Can you imagine if all foursomes did that on every hole? You had to hear that across the golf course?
It would be disastrous. Because just some of the things that people would just yell out as they're trying to drive the ball. But yeah, that's great. Cindy Crawford.
She is one of the most stunningly beautiful people ever born, isn't she? God, she's pretty.
Yeah, I think she's universally kind of known as
the
standard of beauty especially for her era and even today.
Okay, full disclosure, because I know we got to move on to Judd Zulgad here, but I had told you I had dinner with her father one time several years ago, and Dave Hamilton came to the dinner as well. Dave has a few cocktails. Every time Dave had a few cocktails, he'd get really owly with me. I mean, not way over the top, but he'd get kind of owly, which I never understood. So I get in basically a little pissing match with him at the table, and I'm looking at Cindy Crawford's father, and he's looking at me like, what is wrong with you people? I'm like, I'm just trying to protect my territory here. Never saw him again. That was the last time we ever went to dinner, so, I understand, right?
Right. It happens to the best of us.
That's what I hear. Yes, that's a good way to put it. It happens to the best of us. We shall take a break here. Be right back. Judd Zulgad will be back, and we haven't heard from him on the Super Bowl yet, so this is going to be interesting, I think.
Yeah, this will be good.
Judd with his finger on the pulse. Is that what we're saying?
He's got his finger somewhere, that's for sure.
Oh, Jesus.
I always did like this. When somebody first taught me how to just fold your finger over and make it look like it's up your nose. I'm a child, let's be honest. Okay, we'll be back in a couple of seconds. Tom Barnard Podcast has a sweet way to treat your sweetheart. A $25 gift card for Grand Ole Creamery is on sale this week for half price. That's $25 of super premium ice cream for only $12.50. Get your favorite flavor from their 32 flavors to choose from in store at any time. Certificates are in limited supply, so get yours now. Then redeem them at either of the 2 Grand Ole Creamery locations, of course, on Grand Avenue in St. Paul. That's when I told you we'd go when the kids were in college, go there all the time. Or Cedar Avenue in Minneapolis, because we still go to that one. Grand Ole Creamery also offers malts and shakes, cakes, plus pints and quarts of ice cream to take home. And, of course, try their famous sweet-smelling, homemade, hand-rolled, malted waffle cones with a Whopper in the bottom. What a great idea that was, by the way. It really is a sweet way to treat your sweetheart. So act now to get your $25 Grand Old Creamery voucher for only $12.50. Visit TomBernardShow.com and enter keyword deal to get yours while they last. That's TomBernardShow.com, keyword deal.
Is that text you're sending so important that you missed your turn? Is that text you're sending so important that you ran the red light? Is that text you're sending so important you didn't see the ball coming onto the road or the child that followed? Hi, I'm Mike Bryant from Bradshaw and Bryant. When you take your eyes off the road for even 4 seconds, your vehicle travels 100 yards. That's the entire length of a football field. If you absolutely have to text, you need to pull off the road somewhere safe and do it from there. Texting and driving is against the law and can cause serious injury or even death to you and others. Now that is important. We hope you're never injured in a collision, but if you are, please contact us.
Find Bradshaw and Bryant, personal injury attorneys at minnesotapersonalinjury.com.
Going farther with Mike Bryant on your side, seeking justice for the injured. Bradshaw and Bryant.
In addition to having the best selection in town, K&L Surplus and Ammo also can help you sell your firearms safely and worry-free. If you've inherited a collection of firearms from a loved one, don't know what to do with them, or if you have guns you are no longer using, call Jim at K&L Surplus and Ammo. Jim can help you sell those firearms safely through consignment and auction. Safely is a good way to go, man. I know Jim. He's extremely knowledgeable and will help you get top dollar. He will help you explore all the options and take the work and stress off of your shoulders. K&L Surplus and Ammo is on Lake Drive in Lina Lakes and open Tuesday through Saturday. You can also visit them online at www.klgunstore.com. That's www.klgunstore.com.
This is the Tom Barnard Podcast.
We are back now, ladies and gentlemen, and we get the opinion of Judd Zulgad because we haven't gotten this opinion yet on how the Super Bowl went for you.
It went well because I thought it was, while I wouldn't call it a super exciting game the whole time, it was a fun game. It was close. And I mean, when it comes down to OT in the last game of the season, that's pretty damn good. So no, I thought it was a really fun game. But I come from the era of remembering that period. What was it, Tom? It feels like late 80s, early 90s, where we saw several just blowouts. Like we saw several just awful Super Bowls. So I thought it was fun, and I didn't hear too much complaining about the amount that Taylor Swift was shown. So I think it worked out for everybody.
Taylor Swift, ladies and gentlemen. So now that opens the door for me to ask you the question. And we won't tell you our opinion, the three of us, our opinion.
Sure.
Travis Kelce screaming at his coach.
Oh, I thought it was a terrible look.
I agree.
I
think we all agreed on that one.
Yeah, I thought it was an awful look. Like, it's one thing to be intense and somewhat confrontational, but, and it was pretty typical in Andy Reid to try and dismiss it. But I also got to think he was pretty pissed off. I mean, he claimed he was caught by surprise, but I don't care. You don't go and bump into your coach. And, this is on top of a few weeks ago when he slammed his helmet on the sideline, and he threw it. He slammed it off the bench, and it went flying. And, I mean, it could have hit someone. It's interesting. There's a definite temper there that good old Trav needs to control a little bit, and I'm not sure it's productive to be. It's fine to be venting at your coach if you have something to say, but watch how you do it. That was a bad look.
I mean, the only time Catherine does that to me is when we're at home alone. So
Yeah, well, that's fine then too, because then it can't be seen by millions and millions of people watching the Super Bowl on television. There's no cameras, I don't think, in your house.
Well, luckily, the other thing is she's a lot prettier than Travis Kelce is too, so that works out in the end. But now I'm kind of weird because I'm not exactly a management type of guy. I don't suck up to management. I just can't do that kind of thing. I literally, honest to God, if I try to suck up to somebody, I think my head would explode. There's nothing. But by the same token, I have a deep-seated respect for authority, because without authority growing up, my life would have been pure hell. So I would never, ever, Like, well, I mean, the next time I see Dan Seaman, I'm going to grab his arm and scream in his face and see how that goes.
You got to run up to him first, though, and
Yes,
sort of
that's
bump him and catch him by surprise and knock him off balance. That was the thing that got me.
Right. You're absolutely. I just don't understand what the hell. So basically, because everybody knows who he is now, because I'd never even heard of the guy before Taylor Swift came along. I don't pay attention to that kind of thing. But now we all know who he is, so now he's going to show everybody what a tough guy he is.
No, I think he's been this way the entire time.
Has he really?
Yeah, going back to he and his also very famous brother Jason both played college football at Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And going back to then, Travis, I believe, was kicked off the football team at one point.
Really?
And he at the time he was a quarterback, and he was kicked off the football team and had to work his ass off to get back on. But yeah, there's a very fine line there. But he's not unusual for a football player. That's such a weird sport, Tom, because it takes such a weird wiring because of the intensity and how just flat out brutal the sport is. But yeah, Travis has always been like this. It's just that people now notice because of his famous significant girlfriend.
Yeah, and that's what it's. Well, they probably would have shown that on the sidelines, even if he wasn't Taylor Swift's fake boyfriend.
Yeah,
I mean, they're going to show that
big time.
It was way out of line, no question. I'd be honest with you, if I were the owner of that team, I'd get rid of him. It's like, you're nuts. Go away.
And if there was anybody on the field that should have been maybe bumping into their coach for not being prepared, you would think it was the 49ers players because, Judd, have you heard this where they're all coming out and saying that they didn't know the rules for overtime?
Right.
And they never went over it as a team?
In the playoffs, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that was a bit surprising. Yeah, in fact, I saw a quote from one 49ers player, because the rules do change in overtime in the playoffs, where he flat out said, I didn't really know these rules until I saw them put up on the scoreboard right before we played the overtime period.
Yeah, but meanwhile, the Chiefs are like, we've been going over this all year. Like, this was no surprise.
Right.
But I think that puts to bed the rest of how do you know you're sitting on your couch? I knew the rules. The guys who did too. Playing, you never played the game. Well, I at least know the rules. So I think that puts that argument to bed.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you. I mean, as a little kid, we knew that. I knew that as a little kid. It's like they get a shot, then you get a shot when it goes to overtime. It's what happens in even playground softball. Everybody gets their half of the inning, and we'll see how it goes. You come last. If you beat me, you beat me. I mean, that's how it's always been. That's weird.
Yeah, and this actually started to change. Now it's been changed again because of the Kansas City win over Buffalo a few years ago. But the changes with the overtime rules actually started because of the Saints field goal that beat the Vikings in the 2009
that's right.
NFC Championship game. So again, things that are bad can be traced back to Minnesota sports.
All bad things.
All bad things. And they fixed it. And they fixed it after because Minnesota sports lost because of that rule originally.
No, it's absolutely. You know what? I got to be very honest with you because I ran into Louis Nanny a few days ago. Louis's been a lifelong friend. He's just a great guy. The whole family, Tino and Michelle, his daughter and her husband, and Francine, his wife's just a sweetheart. And we're talking, and I'm just listening to Louis talk about hockey. To this day, he's 82 now. Mm-hmm. To this day, he gets pissed off about some of the things that his coaches and his team did over the years. He's pissed off.
Oh yeah, I've talked to him about that before too. It's great. Well, and his memory is a steel trap.
It is. You're absolutely right, Louis. We love the Nanny family. They've been friends for a long, long time. But he goes, remember that one time back in '87? I'm like, no.
He might be the most recognized Minnesotan who's not from originally Minnesota.
Yeah. Yep. Sault Ste. Marie, Lou from the Sioux.
Did you see he hit a hole-in-one playing golf this past weekend?
What?
That's what he told me. Yeah, he told me. That's the whole conversation about his hole-in-one, for Christ's sake. 82 years old, and he's holding it out.
Well, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. on that. But then he said, then the next day, the guy he was playing with on the same exact hole hit another hole in one.
Really?
Okay.
I didn't know.
All right. Lou.
What course is this? What hole is this? Because I want to get a hole in
They're
one
at
too.
Lily Putt over
In Minnetonka, yeah.
No, he told me the course. I can't name the course because his son's a member there, so I probably wouldn't want him to. But it is a spectacular, very difficult golf course.
Yeah, you didn't think Lou and his buddies were playing some public course.
Yeah,
Probably not. Probably not. Lou is just what a great history. What a great friend to have all these years. Honest to God, is just. But again, the women in the family, Michelle, Francine, that's all that matters. You know,
his wife Francine is among the nicest people I've met. She's
the greatest. Well,
great.
So when we got together a few days ago, I walk in, and she comes over and gives me a hug and go, "You weren't invited." She just started laughing. She's just a sweetheart of a person. But all right, so now we got. I got to be honest with you, Judd. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how it's going to work, but people are not happy about this TV deal for the Twins.
Well, no, because the Twins had assured you it was going to have a streaming component, or said it was supposed to.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, this is the exact same as last year, which means if you have a cable subscription, you can stream the games through that, but there's no direct to consumer component to it. So no, this is going to be for Twins fans. This is a continuation of a lot of frustration that baseball has to fix. It's not just a Twins thing; it's a baseball thing. Supposedly 25 now is the goal, but here's the thing: until it's done, I don't trust them.
I don't trust them. Now, AJ, are you Gen Z or what are you?
I'm like on the fence. I can lean one day probably towards like the late stages of millennial, and otherwise like the early days of Gen Z. So,
well, the reason I'm asking you is because the word out there is that Gen Z people do not watch football. They have no interest in watching football. They watch baseball a bit, but from what I understand, major league sports are not as important to Gen Z as they are to every other generation. Do you find that to be true?
No, not within my circle of friends and whatnot. Like my buddy, it's like every Saturday and Sunday during the football season. It's college football all day Saturday, NFL all day Sunday. Now that college football is done, it's college basketball all day on Saturday, and now he's gonna have withdrawals like a drug addict on Sundays without NFL football. So, I enjoy watching hockey. And then once baseball season runs around, I usually do the MLB TV package, so I like watching. It's great to have just a baseball game on in the background of whatever you're doing throughout the summer.
Yep.
Even if you're not really paying attention to like the Reds taking on the Pirates, it's still baseball.
That story. It's so great that you brought that up, because I had a friend whose grandfather lived with him for a while before he passed away, and I would always go by, and he was always on the front porch listening to the Twins game, right? And one day I walked by, and I don't want to say his name, but Mr. So-and-so said, "Why don't you watch the games on television?" He goes, "It's live or it's on the radio." I went, "Okay, never mind." He's either going to the game. He ain't watching. I'm not watching baseball on television. He would not watch baseball on television.
Or wouldn't people always bring radios to baseball games?
Oh, yeah.
And the broadcast while sitting in the stadium?
Most definitely.
Yeah,
that was a huge, The I don't know if it started with, but it became very popular, I think, in the 60s with the Dodgers and Vin Scully.
Oh, yeah.
Where a lot of, because he was such a, instant legend there, that they would bring their transistors. Like that's the thing is they would bring their transistors and hold them to their ears, Tevin and Age. We're not talking, there were no headsets back in the day. There were no iPods. They would literally bring a small radio and hold it to their ears to listen to the ball game while they watched it.
Well, that's why I love radio baseball games. Is like they're like a hybrid between a live sporting event and a podcast, because when the announcer is good, it's story time for like 2.5 hours mixed with baseball. Yeah, it's perfect.
Amen.
Well, and isn't what's the Cubs guy that reached out and grabbed that foul ball?
Steve Stone?
Steve Bartman,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, Steve Bartman.
Isn't the rumor that he was listening to the game and he was actually a pitch behind, and that's why yeah.
Oh, I never heard that, but yes,
I
he
never heard
definitely
that.
had like earbuds in, right?
Yeah, he had like the old, like the metal band with the.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes total sense, doesn't it? But honest to God, you just brought up something now, brought such happiness to me because I just heard Halsey Hall and Herb Carneal in my head. My God, did I love listening to those guys. And then, of course, Harry Carey when I was working in Chicago. You tune into the games and it'd be like, uh-oh, Harry's been at it already. Today's game is going to be a beautiful one. The drunker he was, the slower he spoke.
Yeah.
It was like, holy crap.
We have to start all our games at 11 a.m. so that way Harry can't drink before.
No, that wouldn't have stopped him, Tim.
No.
Oh, 11. No, there's no time of day that you could have started games at. But that was the greatest thing about when the Cubs were carried on WGN, and it was a superstation, was watching, Steve Stone and Harry Carey.
Yes.
And that's when Harry, at some point in time, decided it would be fun to spell names backwards.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember that.
And so,
he did them all wrong.
So like you'd have a guy at the plate. There was a guy who played for the Expos, Mark Grudzelanek.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
And so he spent like 2 at-bats for Grudzelanek trying to even just spell it backwards so he could then phonetically try and say it backwards.
Oh, no chance. I know you got to go, but one of my favorites of all time, we had Harry on the show many years ago. Gelfand, of course, had to take a shot at him. What a shock.
Naturally.
I can't even remember what the hell it was, but Gelfand took a shot at him.
No.
There was a long pause, and then all you heard after the long pause was, Barnard, control your monkeys. Okay,
for
Harry.
him.
Okay, Harry, I will. I promise.
Oh, God, that's great.
Oh, Gelfand's so great at taking shots at people. He is really good at that. No question about it.
Oh, yeah, no. Yes, which is why I think the majority of the Twins in the clubhouse in the 70s couldn't stand him, right?
Probably true. What are you going to do? Oh, they were not fans of Mike Gelfand. There's no question about that. Couple of them weren't too hot on me either, so that's the way that works.
Oh, well.
Tom Bernansky to this day would probably punch me in the face if I ever ran into him. He hated my guts.
That's so weird because he's a really nice guy. He joined us when Phil and I had him on as a weekly guest the year or two that he was the Twins hitting coach for Mahler.
Oh, right. Sure, I remember that.
And he was just a delightful guy. Although we did do an entire segment one time on because it marked the anniversary of the day he was traded to the Cardinals.
Sure.
Tom doesn't have a lot of fond memories of being shipped out to St. Louis for Tommy Herr.
Yep.
So
Tommy Herr, how's he doing these days? Any marital problems or?
Oh boy! Don't open up that can of worms.
Not that can of worms.
That we don't have time to. We don't have time or the legal ability to have that conversation.
All right, then we'll just disappear into the night. Judd, we will talk to you again tomorrow.
Awesome. See you guys later. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Judd Zulgad, SKOR North. Ladies and gentlemen, take a break. Be right back. Chris Egert will join us right after this. Mike Lindell and MyPillow employees want to thank my listeners for all your continued support and to thank you. They're having an overstock clearance and new product sale right now for the best prices ever when you use promo code TOM, and you get free shipping on your entire order. Get 50% off the MyPillow 2.0. Also get 50% off the brand new flannel sheets that just arrived and won't last long. 6-pack towel sets for only $29.98. And take advantage of the free shipping on larger items such as mattresses and mattress toppers, 100% made in the USA, on sale for as low as $99.99. Everything is on sale, from the brand new kitchen towels that have the same technology as the bath towels that actually absorb, dog beds, blankets, couch pillows, and so much more. To get the best specials ever, go to mypillow.com or call 800-516-5146 and use promo code TOM, and you get free shipping on your entire order. So call 800-516-5146 or go to mypillow.com and use promo code TOM.
Recently, Jim Paul of Valley Buick GMC was contacted by a company that does on-site sales. Jim was confused.
Wait, they don't know anything about us, our staff, our reputation, most importantly, our customers.
Hey, pal, no problem. We do them all over the country. You know, get the manager off the roof sale, inflatable gorilla sale, and our favorite, the 13-hour sale with a giant clock that goes to 13. Urgency, baby. We bring our crew because, well, your people are, let's just say, a little laid back.
And the pricing?
Nothing special, sport.
But Jim thought we price competitively every day. Our prices are special. We definitely don't need these guys. But sale does convey some urgency, so we made a bold decision for his fine dealerships.
Announcing the Valley Buick GMC 365-day sale. And we can even extend it a couple years or so.
I got the air dancer guy, scratch offs, plastic keys, bubble machine.
Valley Buick GMC in Apple Valley or Hastings or valleycardealers.com. Hurry.
Yeah, baby. Here's the deal. When you go to a restaurant, you expect the chef to be an expert, correct? You expect your auto mechanic to be an expert when it comes to fixing your car. You judge them both by the results of their work. Josh Arnold is an expert in investments and planning your financial future. Josh Arnold is my expert, and he should be yours too, and I'm not kidding. I talk to Josh every week, and he understands the market, the economy, and he knows how to plan for your retirement. Don't put it off another day. The man with your plan is Josh Arnold. Call Josh now for a no-obligation 48-minute evaluation. You've got nothing to lose, and you'll have an expert planning and managing your financial future. Call Josh at 952-925-5608. That's 952-925-5608. Investment services offered by Josh Arnold, investment consultant, LLC security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice. Tom Barnard is a paid endorser. Oh.
Hello, I'm Brad Huckle, President and Chief Lending Officer.
What are we doing, kids?
All right, there we go. That's my fault, but we are back.
Humbug! Oh, I have to ask you guys a favor because we have a hard out with Kyle MacLachlan and Joshua Davis at 9:05.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Tevin, could you call Josh because I want to have him on because a lot of people are they're kind of really scared of their investments now. Would you mind giving them a shout, just giving them the number to call in on at like 5 after 9? Or give them a call right now and tell them to call it. What do you think? That'll work, won't it?
Yeah. You talking about Josh Arnold?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you could give him a buzz and ask him to come on at 9:05 or call it at 9:05, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, Channel 5's Chris Egert is brought to you by Mr. Money Talk Josh Arnold. Call Josh today for your free 48-minute evaluation at 952-925-5608. Mr. Egert, how are you?
I'm good. You brought up the market thing. The Dow's down like 350 points.
Right. That's what I want Josh on.
What are we saying here? Because of hotter than expected inflation data. So
great. Well, Chris, let me point out something to you. I already told the fellas on the show, and now I'll tell you for people who just tuned in.
Mm-hmm.
Went to dinner last night. There were 3 couples, Catherine and me, and 2 other couples. I think they had a bottle of wine and some standalone glasses of wine. The dinner bill with tip came to $1,100.
Holy crap.
To go to dinner now. I'm like, geez. And the great thing for me is I went, hey, just let me pick this up. And they go, no, we'll split it up. I said, I can just pick it up. And they go, no, as soon as I saw the bill, I went, thank God we're splitting it up.
Yeah, right?
Like, oh, God. Honest to God, some of these bottles of wine now apparently are like, $1,000 for a bottle of wine? Some places.
That's insane. I wouldn't drink a $1,000 bottle of wine. Oh, boy.
Wouldn't you save your pee when you did?
I'd be selling it for gas money, baby.
Well, I don't think anybody really drinks them. They just store them in their liquor cabinet or wine cellar, so that way they can tell everybody how expensive it is. They're saving it for a special occasion.
I got the Chateau de whatever from 1940, and nobody ever cracks that bottle open.
I like Chateau de whatever. That's a good
Chateau de whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
That'd be a great wine. Chateau de whatever. You'd never forget it. You'd never forget it. Yeah, so we'll have Josh. I asked Kevin to reach out to Josh Arnold because I'd like to have him on it. Well, see, Kyle and Joshua are off at 9:05, so 5 after 9, 6 after 9, something like that, because the market's looking bad, man. And I thought things were getting better, Chris. What the hell happened?
Well, I do know this, and partly because of what I do for a living. we don't always report on the market when it's doing well, and it had gone, you know what I mean? Like it's,
Yeah.
I had a news director once tell me, we don't do stories about the planes that land safely. We do stories about the ones that crash.
Right.
I know it sounds bad, but you see what I'm saying? So
no, I know.
And
But
I think Josh will be good to have somebody with some actual perspective on big picture what it means. But I mean, it's not a surprise that it's tied to the inflation thing because things continue to be crazy expensive, and I still believe that people are propped up with debt more than they ever have been, and I think that house of cards is going to fall apart at some point.
I think you're probably right, but like I said, it just things were supposed to be getting better. We were talking about a little uptick on things getting better, but for some reason that's just not happening yet. Do you think it is going to improve soon? I hope.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what Josh has to say about it. But
Ray Eric, my buddy I worked with at the Q, sent me an email. He went out and got a hamburger, fries, and a Coke, and it was over $20. This is at a fast food place. $20. It's like, okay, that's, what was it, like 19 cents when I was a kid or something like that?
That's funny you say that because I got pizza for us on Friday night, and granted my large child was home, so that does change the quantities of food consumed.
By large child, you mean tall?
The
I can't see you having a fat kid.
What's that?
I can't see you having a fat kid.
He's almost 300 pounds, but he's also 6'6". So
Jesus Christ.
What's his name?
Dakota.
Hey, Dakota, don't mess with me. Do you hear me? Tough guy when I'm miles away.
No, yeah, Dakota, I won't mess with you. Just
wow,
don't hurt me.
Still a big puppy dog, and I got the old man strength on him. So, but anyway, I got pizza on Friday night.
Right,
it was like $90
for pizza,
3 pizzas and a beer, and I was like, what? I mean,
I know, $90 for how many pizzas you get?
I got 3.
So these
and they weren't like it wasn't even it wasn't like fancy pants. Now, granted, it wasn't like Domino's like $6.99 a pie or anything. It was,
that's right.
Friday night, I was spending a Friday night payday Friday. I was like, I can splurge a little bit here, but then I was like, holy crap.
It's a lot of money, man. I didn't see it coming either. All of a sudden, everything is like a tuna sandwich. Give me $15. Like, gee, what?
Right. You don't get bread with that either.
Yeah, right.
Just the tuna salad.
You get a can of tuna that's not even open. That'll cost you an extra 99 cents. I think the interest rate thing is just such a factor here too.
Right.
That is impacting so many things in kind of a trickle down. I mean, I just say this in our own experience we did a refi on a home equity line of credit last year to do a remodel. And unfortunately, I didn't lock the rate in when it was low. And so the rate went from like 2% to like 10% over the, or not quite that bad, but close, 8.5% or something over the course of a year. That's a hell of a big difference when it comes to like what kind of a payment you're making on it. And I just think you take that and you factor that into everyone's lives. Those interest rates are really tough.
They are indeed. There's no question about that. In order for America to do well, those interest rates are going to have to come down sooner or later. I mean, otherwise everybody's pretty much left out of the mix except for the big spenders, right?
Well, yeah, and that's another thing too, because because the interest rates have gotten so ridiculous, it was already hard to buy a house, so it's even harder to buy a house now.
Yep.
And so you've seen the housing purchases cool off, and I don't like talking about it.
Okay, we'll move on to another subject. You look like you're getting pissed off.
I am. I'm looking at my hot stack of news over here, and I'm trying to go look at one of these things that's not completely doom and gloom. Have you guys been following the Lutsen Lodge sort of situation up north? And
what happened?
Sounds like we got another press bar 2.0, right?
What's that? You're referring to that St. Cloud, the bar that turned out to be an arson a couple years ago, right?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, it's weird because initially it was, is investigated as just a fire. And then you have, which was it? One of the state agencies came out and then said that they considered it a possible crime scene. And so then they came back and walked that back like almost immediately within an hour or two of saying that. And so now the guy who owns the lodge is trying to defend himself because he's innocent. He hasn't been proven guilty of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's big smoking gun is that the resort was empty and it happened to catch fire a night that the resort's empty. Well, his response is it's been empty a lot this season because there's not been any snow.
Right.
Which could also be a reason to burn the place down, So, I mean,
You're going to stay on the top of this for us? That sounds pretty interesting.
Well, let's say that, the owner of the place, it was bad luck and that's just the way it was. I mean, he's definitely getting drugged through the mud on this because from the get-go, that's like what everyone was saying. And we'll find out how it all turns out. But
So is there anything other than them just saying, "Oh, it was empty," so it's a possibility that it was arson? Is there any we watched gasoline patterns and
it doesn't sound like that is. If that evidence does exist, we haven't heard about it yet.
Okay.
There were some code violations at the place, but the owner said that he's fixing them. Fire marshal hasn't really said whether or not those code violations might have played a role in the fire. It's also an old building.
Yeah. Right.
So that we had a little update on that in the news. The owner went on Facebook and, was kind of trying to defend himself. So,
that's a tough deal because there are so many magnificently beautiful resorts in Minnesota. Is Minnesota as well known for their resorts as they should be? Because my God, they're beautiful.
I think so. I just think I think people, underestimate how hard this winter has been on the economy up there. This is, I would say for them, it's got to be as bad as COVID, right? Because at least during COVID, although wintertime wasn't affected, but I was going to say, at least if COVID had been going on, people could still go outside and do winter sports or whatever, but you can't do any of the wintertime stuff that you'd normally be doing in northern Minnesota. So.
Right. Yeah, we just went up for a weekend at Madden's last year, and you feel like you're on top. Even though it's basically just rolling land, it feels like as you're sitting out on the deck, like you're in the mountains. It's that beautiful. It's just spectacularly beautiful.
Yeah, northern Minnesota is pretty great. Yep. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, there is no question about it. So, anything else big in the news? We got about 3 minutes left here. So if we have to get to some important news.
Minneapolis teachers are going to do some kind of a informational picket tonight at their school board meeting. And it'll be the first one that the new superintendent of schools will be there. They still don't have a contract. I know there's several local districts who don't have a contract right now. I think Anoka Hennepin might not have one. I know Minnetonka doesn't have one. And so that's something that's going on. It's kind of the same old story. The teachers want to get paid more and, they want better working conditions, and the district's trying to stay within its, what the amount of money that it has, and it's not matching up. So.
One thing I love about the listeners I had my entire radio career, from the first time I worked here to this time now, I just love it. And it was a listener, but I don't remember who it was that sent it to me a few years ago. When was the last time the teachers were on strike?
It was like 2 years ago, I think.
So it was 2 years ago. So yeah, I was still at the queue then. And this guy sent me a picture. They're out there picketing. The teachers needed blah, blah, blah. One of the words on the sign was spelled wrong.
Not a good look.
That's not a good look. That's not a good look at all. Your strike sign is spelled wrong.
Maybe it was a cafeteria worker.
It might have been a cafeteria.
It was the PE guy.
Yeah, gym teacher.
And that's not a knock on cafeteria worker. I'm just.
No, of course not. Absolutely not.
That's the hardest damn job in the school district.
Oh my God, yeah.
I would imagine. All right, pal, another brilliant report.
Have a good rest of your day, you guys.
You too, sir. Thank you very much. Channel 5's Chris Egert is brought to you by Mr. Money Talk Josh Arnold. Call Josh today for your free 48-minute evaluation, 952-925-5608. We'll take a break. Be right back. Kyle MacLachlan and Joshua Davis, our special guests, coming up right after this break.
Hello, I'm Brad Huckle, President and Chief Lending Officer at North American Banking Company.
And I'm Michael Bilski, CEO at North American Banking Company.
As a locally owned and operated community bank, we work with many multi-generational businesses.
Take Personal Care Dentistry of Roseville, for example. Dr. Walter Hunt, also known as Painless to me, has been a longtime customer of the bank since we opened the bank in 1998.
When his son Kyle was ready to join the practice, they wanted to expand quickly.
With their additional space and equipment, they now are able to see more patients each day while providing the same level of care and service.
Okay, guys, I'll take it from here. If you run a family business or any kind of business for that matter, you should be banking with Brad and Mike over at North American Banking Company. Every time I deal with them or their team, I know I'm working with experienced professional bankers. So why not bank with my banker? North American Banking Company, a better banking experience, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is Bob Sansevier, and I want to tell you about Dave Bialki from Bialki Law. Dave represented my wife, Mary, when she had a significant workplace injury. She was very happy with the job Dave did. If you have a work-related injury and have Dave represent you, I'm betting you'll be happy too. Dave is a down-to-earth guy. He grew up in northern Minnesota, rides a Harley, and worked various jobs doing concrete, electrical, plumbing, roofing, and carpentry work. Dave works for people with work-related injuries. If you work construction, or anywhere for that matter, and you're hurt or even just hurting, you should talk to Dave. Let's face it, our bodies wear out. If your body is worn out from work, if your knees or back or shoulders hurt from things you do at work, do what Mary did. Call Dave and talk to him about it at Bialki Law to set up a free initial consultation. The number to call is 763-571-2410. That's 763-571-2410. Or visit bialkilaw.com. That's BIALKE law.com.
Have you enjoyed Minnesota's non-winter this year? Want to enjoy the warmth whenever you want? Two Minnesotans can help you live that dream. Matt Carlson from Realty One Group Destination Key West grew up in Litchfield, Minnesota, started out helping his friends find homes locally and in Florida, and now he can help you. If you've considered living in the warmth of Florida, now is the time to reach out to your new friend in Realty, Matt Carlson. It's a buyer's market now, and your Minnesotan friend Matt can help you with a new home here or in the Florida Keys. And if you need some guidance with financing, Kristen Eklund from Coast to Coast Mortgage can help. Kristen is Matt's preferred lender, can finance anywhere in Florida, and like Matt is one of us, as she hails from the Sartell, Alexandria area. So if you're looking at a new home in Minnesota, or maybe that second home or retirement place in Florida, trust your new local friends. Contact Matt and Kristen. Visit onekeywest.com. That's onekeywest.com, or call Matt at 612-791-2345, 612-791-2345, and work with local professionals you can trust.
Tom Barnard is back. Every weekday, you'll hear Tommy B, Brittany Arneson. Yes, that Brittany Arneson. Along with Tom's pals, Kent Herbeck on Fridays, Bob Sansevier, Mike Stretch Gelfand, Tim Lammers, and from Channel 5 Eyewitness News, Chris Egert and Kristen Burt on entertainment and pop culture. It's Tom and the crew with opinions on news, opinions on life, opinions on entertainment,
And of course, opinions on other people's stupid opinions.
The Tom Barnard Show is a podcast, so you can listen when you want to listen. In the car, on the way to or from work, at home, on the job site, or wherever you need your Tommy B Show fix. Hear the show on the Tom Barnard Show app in your app store, as a podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts, or see it on YouTube on the Tom Barnard Show channel. You're listening to the Tom Barnard Podcast.
You are indeed. Let me know when the fellas are ready to go, if you would. Oh,
looks like he's on the phone with him right now.
We got to get to this list at some point this morning. The top things people say, it's the thought that counts for birthdays and Christmas, and they may or may not mean it. For Valentine's Day, they sentimentally act that it does fly for most people, I guess. Things they buy for Valentine's Day, a gift certificate, clothing. I would never buy Catherine clothing for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, clothes is always tough. Unless I'm told this is exactly what I want and this is the size to get. I shy away from.
Right. Then you got jewelry. You got an evening out. Well, you do that anyway.
Yeah, some people maybe go to a restaurant they normally wouldn't go to, maybe like a nicer steakhouse or something like that.
Yeah, maybe that's it. So, and then of course, flowers, greeting cards, and candy are the top three. Flowers 3, greeting cards 2, and candy's number 1. Whatever. I'm going to give her the hey, it's great to see you. What do you think?
Yeah. Good morning. Another day in paradise.
I've got Kyle and Josh on the phone now.
Kyle MacLachlan and Joshua Davis, their podcast, Varnamtown, on Podcast One. 2 years ago, Kyle MacLachlan, the star of Twin Peaks, called investigative journalist Joshua Davis with a strange story. Kyle had heard a rumor that Pablo Escobar, and that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to bring up this is an amazing story if it's true. Kyle, Joshua, how are you?
Good morning. Yeah, if it's true, that's why Kyle called me. I was like, this sounds like a fake story.
Oh, really? So Joshua, you thought it was fake. Kyle, you thought, was your first take, well, this is real?
Well, I heard about this story through a friend of a friend. I couldn't really believe my ears. She spoke pretty convincingly about what she'd heard. A woman who had retired to the little community of Varnamtown, where our story takes place, after making a fortune in the organic soap business.
Okay.
That's interesting as it is. And she said, "Oh, you got to check this out." So I reached out to Josh and said we should go check on this. And he calls me up and he starts talking about organic soap. I'm like, what? What's happening?
Okay, well.
It's like, when was the last time you got a call from Kyle MacLachlan to start blabbering away about organic soap? Well, I got your attention. You did.
True.
You did. I mean, you got my attention, but like normally when somebody starts talking about soap, it's not to say anything that significant. Yeah. Pablo Escobar doesn't necessarily come up in the conversation. No.
I don't think I'd bring him up in conversation, and he's dead. I don't trust him being dead, okay?
Yeah. That's a scary prospect.
No question.
Yeah.
In exchange for vast wealth and limitless cocaine, Escobar would be allowed to land planes and ships in the area. Over the last 24 months, Josh and Kyle investigated the rumor. Let me just throw this in quickly. It's kind of off topic a little bit, but not really, because we're talking about tons and tons of cocaine here. Would you guys, either one of you, and I'll throw myself in as the third person, would you guys ever go toe-to-toe in a fight with Griselda? Holy hell.
Yeah.
It goes,
You will not win. You will not win.
You're not going to win.
Yeah.
So,
what do you get Griselda for Valentine's Day?
Yeah, not just a card or candy, I can guarantee you that.
What's number one on the list for Griselda? 1, 2, and 3.
I would say 1, 2, and 3 would all be bodyguard, bodyguard, and bodyguard. That'd be all three of them, probably.
Yeah. I was thinking like an eyeball, a finger, and a toe. That would work.
Just cut somebody up.
Yeah,
it's all
nothing
true.
says I love you like an eyeball.
Kyle and Joshua, I have to ask you this question. Griselda, whether it's Griselda or it's Pablo Escobar or whatever, how do they gain so much power that they can do whatever they want on this planet? How does that happen?
Money and fear.
It's all money, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, in the case of Varnamtown, once we dug in, it became clear that it was true, that many elements of the story were true, that there was a massive amount of money and cocaine that came into this town. And so how does this happen? What we discovered was the traffickers were paying off local law enforcement to the tune of millions of dollars.
Here I am doing a podcast, was in radio for 53 years, and all I had to do was accept some cocaine, and I would have been living the life. Does that mean I'm stupid?
Yeah, I can tell you it did not go well for those sheriffs.
I bet it didn't. I bet it did not. How do you find the courage, Kyle and Joshua, as whether it's Pablo Escobar or whomever, how do you find the courage, or is it partly you're crazy because you know what, I'm going to run drugs all over the entire Western Hemisphere? I mean, that's a hell of a big step to take. How do they get the idea? Is it just their first street sell said, hey, if I can sell the stuff on the street, why can't I sell it across the South, Central, and North American continent.
I mean, I think in the case of Varnamtown, what happened was the cartels were initially trafficking into southern Florida because it was the closest, easiest place, like Griselda, right? But then the DEA started cracking down on Florida. So they kind of learned their lesson. They're like, well, why are we doing this in a town of hundreds of thousands, millions of people? Why don't we go somewhere where there's nobody? And it's very remote. It's outside of the normal scope of things. And it's also, by the way, the furthest northern limit that their planes could reach from Colombia in a nonstop flight. So they basically kind of drew a radius from Colombia, and then they looked along the outside line of that radius, and there's Varnamtown.
Mm-hmm. God, that makes total sense. Yeah.
For what they were looking for. I mean, it's really a secluded. It's a smuggler's paradise. Honestly, the waterways leading here and there are very treacherous, difficult to find your way through. Things are, homes are tucked back up in the woods. It was a perfect location, and no major cities around it.
No, exactly. That's exactly it. One thing I love about South Florida is there are several of these. I don't know how many. There were, 5, 10 of them. Maybe they're still there. The restaurants are called the Square Grouper. And the reason they're called the Square Grouper is it's named after all of the bales of cocaine that used to float up after the ships would sink. All these squares of cocaine, they called it Square Grouper. It's like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. The price per pound was significantly higher than regular grouper.
Yes, it was a lot higher, no question. How do people get the and I got to be, I guess, a little straight ahead about this. How do you get the balls to become a drug dealer anyway? I'd be scared to death every minute of the day.
How do you get the balls to be a radio host? I mean, that's challenging profession.
Go on air every day.
That's a good point, because some people have threatened to kill me, so you got a good point. So that's good. It all works out in the end. Yeah, it's a very good point. How did you guys? So where did you pick up on this story the very first time?
It was a friend of a friend, and she filled me in on that. So that's how I first came across the story. And then once Josh and I got involved, we went there. We went down. We took a small crew down. We were down in Varnamtown for about 5 or 6 days. We interviewed so many of the participants in this on both sides, on the smuggler side, on the law enforcement side. Everybody was really forthright, told their story, told what they went through. And every day that we were there, the story grew and became more engaging and more intricate and frankly, more interesting. And it was, so when we came away from there, we said, we've got something pretty special here. And we together, cobbled together the podcast, which is on air right now.
And how do people find the podcast?
So this is available wherever you get your podcasts, but it's on most major platforms, Spotify, Apple, where else, Josh?
Podcast One.
Podcast One?
Yeah. Very good. Perfect.
Just search Varnamtown or search for Kyle.
Yeah.
Or search for.
I just typed into Google. I typed in your name, Kyle, and the first thing that came up was, "Is Kyle MacLachlan nice?"
How did you get my message that quickly, Joshua?
Yeah, exactly. Why is that the leading thing?
Yeah.
And you'll be happy to hear, Kyle, that you are nice.
Oh, that's nice to hear. I'm pleased. Well, otherwise you wouldn't work with me, right? That's it.
That's right.
Well, and I'm looking at your picture. You cut a fine figure with those glasses, Kyle. That's a good look.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much.
Are you guys?
I was 8.
Yeah, well, I understand that. Believe me, I've been wearing glasses since I was about the same age. But how do you guys feel at some point? I mean, obviously, Escobar is not around anymore, but there are other people. Do you feel a little unease going after a story this big? Because this is a huge story, and a lot of people could lose some money from this. Do you have any second thoughts about doing this and taking on cocaine dealers?
I think in this case, there was a pretty surprising turn or twist to the story that happened in the 80s. We're only right now, the 4th episode comes out tomorrow. There's 8 episodes, and listeners are going to, who come on this journey with us, are going to find out what happened. It all fell apart, but it fell apart in a very strange way.
That's interesting.
So as a result, people were, I don't know, happy or open to talking about it because the cocaine trade met an odd end. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah. As I said, every day that we interviewed a new person or persons, we did a couple each day, and we spent good chunks of time with them. Hours with each person, talking with them, pulling out the story, and every person obviously had something wonderful to say, and interesting to say. But it did take a turn. You did see, as they were talking, and they're reminiscing, they're thinking back, but they're still affected. I think Lefty was one of our first interviews was very telling when he said, he's still nervous about having anything to do with Pablo Escobar and that group. So it had an effect.
Yeah, do these things ever end well? I suppose if they do end well, we wouldn't even know who they are, I would imagine. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of deaths and murders in South Florida. Mm-hmm. The way things played out in Varnamtown was a little different. I mean, to your earlier question, I initially, you watch Kyle on TV, and he plays a federal agent. He's got a gun. He knows what he's doing. I showed up in Varnamtown. I was like, so you understand firearms, right? And he's like, that was a rubber gun.
Well, there you go.
So that made me nervous.
Gave Josh a lot of confidence.
Yeah, he was like, I'm just going to let you go first.
Well, I said, you've been in war zones, Josh. You've survived some pretty intense experiences. I said, you're the muscle here.
Yeah.
So,
if your listeners could see me, I am not the muscle, but it is just in the war zone.
Well, that'll happen. Yeah. I know we only have about a minute or two left. You guys are very, very busy. Kyle MacLachlan and Joshua Davis with us. Their podcast, Varnamtown, on Podcast One and several other sites, of course. So on the way out, I want to ask you guys a question because I grew up in a very, very poor neighborhood. A lot of cocaine dealers, a lot of pot dealers, things like that. It was all illegal back then. Well, cocaine still is. But I never understood, even when I was a teenager, you're going to give me a little packet, I'm going to open it, there's a white powder inside, and I'm going to shove it up my nose? I don't think so. I don't think I'm doing that. How do they even know what the hell's in there?
You don't.
God, I would never,
there's the rise of fentanyl deaths, right? Because people are cutting the cocaine with fentanyl, and it's one of these just mysteries that we get into a little bit in the show, but not too much. But it's like the war on drugs. Like, did it work? No. People are still doing drugs, and people will probably always do drugs. So there's no clear answer on how you stop it. We've done our darndest and essentially failed.
That was a very heavy statement. We've done our darndest, Tom. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. This is a fascinating subject. From the very beginning, just to have the balls, I guess is the best way to put it. I can find all this cocaine in South America. How do I get it through Central America and into North America where all the money is? It's just a fascinating equation to me.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having us on.
Absolutely. Kyle, Joshua, have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Oop, there we go. I think they clicked off.
They did indeed. They need to be out by 05. I got them out by 04. Yeah, I did cocaine once in my life, and it was like boring. Nothing happened.
That's so bizarre.
Nothing happened. And then I did LSD one time, and nothing happened with that. Do you think I'm just so mentally ill that it doesn't affect my brain?
Yeah, it like snapped you back to reality, right?
I was a nicer person.
You had 20/20 vision. You were calm. compassionate.
Yeah.
I can see that as a possibility. I can see that all working out as a possibility. There's no question about it. Yeah, I don't understand, man. I'm sorry. I don't usually have a lot of fear of much. I told you that before, that I'm not afraid of a lot of things, but I think trafficking cocaine, I might be a little afraid to be doing that.
I'm afraid to do that, and then I'm also afraid to start a podcast where I start exposing the guys that are doing the cocaine smuggling.
Yeah,
well,
two things I'm not trying to do is just be involved in that world on either side.
The idea of that sounds great, but like actually going out and doing it, it's like, well, now they know who I am. They know how much I know. I'm broadcasting it to millions of people.
Yeah. Yep. We have to take a break, but we'll be right back in a couple of minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Kristen Burt's coming up in about 10 minutes. Looking forward to that as well. Be right back. February is the month for love. When is the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it really deserves? Have you gotten down on your hands and knees and adored how clean and refreshed it was? Or are you scared what you might see or smell, maybe? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the biggest air filter in your house. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love to you and your home with their Love Your Rug special. Get 3 rooms, Zero Resified, starting at just $119 and a free hallway. Don't forget dirt and dander's favorite hiding place, your air ducts. This month, take $75 off when you get your air ducts Zero Res clean. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, 952-ZEROREZ, or go online at zeroresminnesota.com and say you want the Tom Barnard Show special. Protect your employees and customers by getting your business Zero Resified by the pros at Zero Res. Call today for your commercial cleaning estimate. Spell it forward or backward. It spells the same. Zero Res.
Is that text you're sending so important that you missed your turn? Is that text you're sending so important that you ran the red light? Is that text you're sending so important you didn't see the ball coming onto the road or the child that followed? Hi, I'm Mike Bryant from Bradshaw and Bryant. When you take your eyes off the road for even 4 seconds, your vehicle travels 100 yards. That's the entire length of a football field. If you absolutely have to text, you need to pull off the road somewhere safe and do it from there. Texting and driving is against the law and can cause serious injury or even death to you and others. Now that is important. We hope you're never injured in a collision, but if you are, please contact us.
Find Bradshaw and Bryant, personal injury attorneys at minnesotapersonalinjury.com.
Going farther with Mike Bryant on your side, seeking justice for the injured. Bradshaw and Bryant.
When you go to a restaurant, you expect the chef to be an expert. You expect your auto mechanic to be an expert when it comes to fixing your car. You judge them both by the results of their work. Josh Arnold is an expert in investments and planning your financial future. Josh Arnold is my expert, and he should be yours too. I talk to Josh every week, and he understands the market and the economy, and he knows how to plan for your retirement. Don't put it off another day. The man with your plan is Josh Arnold. Call Josh now for a no-obligation 48-minute evaluation. You've got nothing to lose, and you'll have an expert planning and managing your financial future. Call Josh at 952-925-5608. That's 952-925-5608. Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC Security Investment Advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice. Tom Barnard is a paid endorser.
This is the Tom Barnard Podcast. Listen live weekday mornings, 8 to 9:30, or anytime you like as a podcast on the Tom Barnard app at tombarnardshow.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. I thought those guys were good guests. Colin MacLachlan, Joshua Davis.
Yeah, absolutely. I never heard about like the whole Varnamtown, story.
No.
So that piques my interest. I might have to look into that. They said they're like halfway through the episode 4. It's coming out here soon. I got some time to catch up at least.
Where did they say Varnamtown is? Because I've never even heard of Varnamtown.
The only thing I know is that it's a southern coastal town. It's a small southern coastal town.
But it doesn't say where.
No,
Which
it's
state?
not.
Oh, you have to track it down. No question about it. Yeah, I thought they were really good guests. That stuff is fascinating. I don't want to be anywhere near any of that stuff. I got to be honest with you. There's some crazy bastards involved in that drug dealing, man. Woo. I just spotted this random Super Bowl insanity, the most watched game ever. Troy Aikman inserts foot in mouth. Did you know anything about? I don't know anything about this.
I don't know what he said, but we do also have Josh Arnold. available.
Josh is with us right now, isn't he?
Yeah, I've got Mr. Money Talk on the line.
Magnificent. Okay, so I'll read this to Mr. Money Talk first. Here's one of those tweets that didn't age well. In 2019, someone pointed out that Patrick Mahomes had thrown 36% of Troy Aikman's career touchdowns in roughly 8% of the games he played. Aikman replied, "Talk to me when he has 33% of my Super Bowl titles." Well,
and now what? 4 years later, 5 years later, he's right on pace with you, Troy.
Yeah.
Well, now he can talk to you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the lovely and talented Josh Arnold. Josh, those old numbers aren't looking too good this morning. What's the latest?
The numbers are not looking too good on the Dow, nor are they looking too good on the NASDAQ. People are making too much money.
Is that what it is?
Too much money. That's the issue. Too much money. You didn't realize that, but the Federal Reserve is much concerned that you're making too much money. Wages are up, and that has made for a hotter than expected consumer price index, which came out today. And the CPI number was higher than had been expected at 0.3% versus estimates of 0.2% year over year, up 3.1% versus the estimate of 2.9%. And the core CPI, which is primarily services costs, were up. Housing costs are still high. More people are working, and they're making more money. And fear is, oh my goodness, the Fed might raise interest rates and not cut interest rates.
Ooh.
Better sell stocks because it's bad. It's bad out there with the inflation numbers. The Fed is bad. Interest rates are going to go back up. And for that, I say, I don't think so.
See, that's why we got a hold of you, Josh. Oh, by the way, Josh is my guy. You can call Josh at 952-925-5608. That's 952-925-5608. He'll handle your money very well. He does for me and many, many other people. So is this just something we have to wait out, Josh? This whole...
I think, Tom, we're going to have to wait this out.
Yep.
Inflation has been coming down. There are going to be periods of time when inflation goes up and people in the market will say panic or they machines panic a little bit, and it sell first, ask questions later. At some point, this CPI number might be revised. One little tidbit. Yes, the stock market is down, and there'll be people saying, "Oh, you've got to have money in bonds. Put your money in government bonds because they're safe." Yes, they are safe as long as you hold those bonds to maturity. But if you don't hold those bonds to maturity, or while you're holding those bonds, the value of that bond is going to go up and down based on changes in interest rates. So if interest rates start moving up, which they did with this CPI number, higher yields mean lower bond prices. Get that? Lower bond prices is the opposite of higher yields, at least for outstanding bonds. In the last month, as an example, the long bond index, TLT, you can track this, has gone from $98 a share down to $92.78. That's over $5 a share. That's pretty significant. So with a lost 5% in value on the long bond index. Well, somebody's going to come around and say, well, geez, Josh, Apple stock, your favorite company, is also down about that much since since the beginning of the year when it hit a recent high, currently trading a little over $185 a share. Well, yeah, what is the likelihood of Apple continuing to generate revenues and have those revenues grow over the course of the year? And those earnings are going to grow pretty strong. So Apple still pays a nice dividend. They've got plenty in the hopper, plenty of catalysts. It is the second largest company by market capitalization to Microsoft. It's not going to go away. I'd say you might be safer, and I put that in quotes, owning a stock like Apple than owning a bond. People can debate me, of course, but I believe over the course of the next several years, the performance in Apple or several other high-quality companies that generate increasing revenues, and the companies provide a service and or product that people and or businesses need, that will result in higher earnings, and that'll bring in higher stock prices. Now, it's not going to be a straight up move, but you could be well rewarded owning stocks rather than putting your money in bonds. And of course, that is my opinion, but it's worked out very well for a lot of years. Not every year, of course. But
not every year.
A lot of years.
I understand. Josh, for the foreseeable future, I'd like to reach out for you like a 5 to 6, 7 minute take on Tuesdays, if you don't mind, because it was supposed to go down. Then it was going to go back up. And now it's supposed to go down. Now it's going to go back up. So you can call Josh at 952-925-5608. That's 952-925-5608. He's my guy. Make him your guy. And we will we'll talk to you Friday on the Family Show, but we'll talk to you again next Tuesday at this time.
Here,
Does
I'm
this
going
work
to
for you?
give you just a little. This is just for a little bit of fun, since you're talking about Troy Aikman. Won't talk to Patrick Mahomes now that Patrick Mahomes has won he's won 3 Super Bowls.
Yep.
He's a young guy. The big thing, I don't know whether Patrick Mahomes is going to move the needle on any stock except for, we'll say, DraftKings or FanDuel.
Mm-hmm.
But what has been moving money on stocks, you mentioned 2 letters, AI, as an artificial intelligence, and Taylor Swift. Those 2 things have moved stocks.
All right, Pally. We'll talk to you on Friday on the Family Podcast,
Okay,
all right?
thanks.
Thanks,
Bye.
Josh. Josh Arnold, ladies and gentlemen, calling in. I love working with him because he's no BS. He doesn't try to hype you into investing in this, that. He gives you advice. You can take his advice, or you don't take his advice. It's up to you.
It's like the ads say, straight talk, never sugar-coated advice.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. That's what we need. But yeah, that does scare me. That don't worry about it. Once we get into February, March, stock market will be in great shape and blah blah. First thing, what are we down now? About 350? You said.
Yeah, I believe that's what the latest number was.
God, I blame it on Kristen Burt, who is up next.
Recently, Jim Paul of Valley Buick GMC was contacted by a company that does on-site sales. Jim was confused.
Wait, they don't know anything about us, our staff, our reputation, most importantly, our customers.
Hey, pal, no problem. We do them all over the country. Get the manager off the roof sale, inflatable gorilla sale, and our favorite, the 13-hour sale with a giant clock that goes to 13. Urgency, baby. We bring our crew because, well, your people are, let's just say, a little laid back.
And the pricing?
Nothing special, sport.
But Jim thought, we price competitively every day. Our prices are special. We definitely don't need these guys. But sale does convey some urgency, so we made a bold decision for his fine dealerships.
Announcing the Valley Buick GMC 365-day sale. And we can even extend it a couple years or so.
I got the air dancer guy, scratch-offs, plastic keys, bubble machine 5.
Valley Buick GMC in Apple Valley or Hastings, or valleycardealers.com. Hurry.
Hello, I'm Brad Huckle, President and Chief Lending Officer at North American Banking Company.
And I'm Michael Bilski, CEO at North American Banking Company.
As a locally owned and operated community bank, we work with many multi-generational businesses.
Take Personal Care Dentistry of Roseville, for example. Dr. Walter Hunt, also known as Painless to me, has been a longtime customer of the bank since we opened the bank in 1998.
When his son Kyle was ready to join the practice, they wanted to expand quickly.
With their additional space and equipment, they now are able to see more patients each day while providing the same level of care and service.
Okay, guys, I'll take it from here. If you run a family business or any kind of business for that matter, you should be banking with Brad and Mike over at North American Banking Company. Every time I deal with them or their team, I know I'm working with experienced professional bankers. So why not bank with my banker? North American Banking Company, a better banking experience, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The Tom Barnard Show is proud to have partners like North American Banking Company, Bradshaw and Bryant, and attorney and advertiser Dave Bielke.
I've been advertising on Tom Barnard shows for years. I like Tom, not just because he's a good guy, but because the ads I run on his show bring me new clients that are hurt at work and need legal help. Tommy B works for me.
If you'd like to find out more about growing your business with the Tom Barnard Show, go to tombernardshow.com, keyword partner. This is the Tom Barnard Podcast.
And this is the Kristen Burt Report. Kristen Burt Entertainment News, brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. We just had Josh Arnold on talking about a little money talk because the stock market looks terrible this morning.
I have Apple stock, so I was listening to his advice.
So there you go. He's your guy too.
He is my guy. Yeah, I bought Apple stock during the recession in 2007, 2008, which I will tell you was a very good investment. So don't take any financial advice from me, but Apple stock is probably a good move.
I've never liked you. I want you to know that. I'm making all kinds of dough, Tom. Way to go, Kristen. Nope. No, that's good, though. I'm glad to hear that you do the wise thing like that. Keep a couple of bucks under the pillow. You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm a saver. You know, either saver or spender. I'm a saver.
I'm not a saver. I could go through money like there's no tomorrow.
And that's why Catherine keeps you in check?
That is correct.
Yeah. I kind of had a feeling.
It's kind of true, though. Although things have gotten so psychotic now that you're like... you're got to be afraid of everything. There is a lot on Palm Beach Island. A lot on Palm Beach Island has nothing on it. $200 million for a piece of dirt. It's like, holy God.
Yeah, gonna need a lot of that Apple stock to be able to.
I know,
Yeah,
and then some. I know. I've been watching that Jupiter Island home that's been eroding. So. Yep. We've got a lot of erosion here on the West Coast and the East Coast. I've just been watching these homes fall into the ocean, and I'm like, wow.
Ooh, that's sad. That's too bad.
Yeah, it's scary.
So what's new in your biz, sister?
Well, I think one of the top stories, I'm sure you've discussed it, the most watched Super Bowl ever.
Yeah, ever.
Really incredible. And listen, I know, because Tom's going to go, don't say her name. Some of this, yes, of course, is the Taylor Swift effect. But I also just want to remind everyone that the only thing that is really making a ton of money for entertainment is live sports. So we are going to see networks across the board, including streamers, really leaning heavy into live sporting events because it is drawing viewers. People, for whatever reason, and I think it's kind of interesting because, and maybe it's because tickets have become so expensive. I mean, it was $15,000 for a seat at the Super Bowl when honestly the best seat in the world is in your living room. So I am very curious as we move into this Olympic year with NBC and Peacock. I am curious to see how they do with the Olympics this year because they didn't do that great in Tokyo, but it was a COVID Olympics. But we've got big sports like swimming, gymnastics, and we're probably going to have another dominant team with Simone Biles coming back. So I think that there's a lot of exciting things ahead in terms of the sports arena.
You know, Simone Biles is a pretty decent athlete. You ever notice that?
She's all right.
She does all right. Up and comer. Like she's a star on the rise.
I think if she really applied herself, she could be a little bit better. But yeah, she does well.
I was actually looking at tickets last night. I really want to come to the Olympic trials for gymnastics, which are happening in June in Minnesota. So for all sessions.
No appearance? In
Maybe.
studio?
Oh, maybe. I didn't bite the bullet just yet. It's $1,500 for decent seats for all 4 days. I would rather just get women's gymnastics. I'm sorry to the guys, but um, I just want to go to the women's session. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But they're right now they're only selling the 4 days. So I could just maybe just go for fun, be here for 4 or 5 days, grace you all with my presence.
Gracing us with your presence, exactly
Instead
right.
of my closet.
I don't know if I could walk down the street with both you and Catherine at the same time. That'd be too much. You know what I
It
mean?
would be the tall and the shorty.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot. Exactly.
Tom in
We'll
the
change
middle
our
of
name,
easy
tall
bars.
KB to short KB.
KB1, KB2, and there's a KB3. Let's not forget about that.
That's right.
And there's
Can't forget about
KB4,
Ken
Ken Barlow. Yeah.
Ken Barlow's number 3. Who's 4?
Oh, he's number 3. Oh, there is a number 4, but I forgot who it was.
I don't know who it is either, but
Yeah, Ken
Barlow's number 3.
KB3. Okay.
All right, I have a story for you guys, and I really want to get your opinion. And part of it is local to Minnesota because it involves Adrian Peterson.
Oh, geez.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So Dancing with the Stars, we all know he was on last season. And right now, the Television Critics Association winter tour is going on, which is where they start talking about what they're going to be bringing forward in the next 6 months or so on TV. And Dancing with the Stars defended what they call their clickbait casting. This is what they had to say about Adrian Peterson. And I've been dying to get your opinions on this. So this is from Dina Katz. Dina Katz is the executive producer of casting and talent relations on Dancing with the Stars. She said, quote, "We vetted Adrian. We met Adrian. We found out everything we needed to know. He went back to play in the NFL. Everybody had checked out Adrian. We took that as we did our due diligence. We thought he was a lovely family man. His wife is great, and he was an amazing football player that had an amazing record." Yeah. What are your immediate thoughts on this? Because the Dancing with the Stars fan base went ballistic.
Yeah, I don't know that I would call him an amazing family man, and I think for them they should have went maybe more the route of, hey, we understand he made a terrible mistake and we believe in second chances. That's a little bit more palatable, I think. But yeah, I don't know. It feels weird to defend Adrian Peterson after all of the things that came out about him.
I also laughed that they said the NFL had vetted him. I'm like, also a problematic organization.
Right.
Right. There's a lot of issues in NFL, especially when it comes to domestic violence.
Yeah, the NFL's vetting process is we're just going to wait till enough people stop talking about this, then we'll let you play again if you're good.
Yeah. Josh Gordon has basically had his career ended because he smoked weed. Calvin Ridley missed an entire season essentially because he gambled on games. Yeah. Whereas like Kareem Hunt had
Kareem Hunt kicked a woman in an
elevator. Like 2 games.
What?
Like, it's an insane discrepancy of the panel. Like they just spin a wheel and it just happens to land on numbers.
Yeah.
Who is the one that TMZ is that the one that TMZ had the footage of one of the players
dragged her out of an
Yeah,
elevator.
I
think it was like a casino or a hotel lobby, and he ended up kicked her while she was on the ground.
Astonishing. I mean, it is shocking. And just to say that the Dancing with the Stars fan base, what I do love about them is they like to take a stand. They get upset and they will make sure to organize votes to get people off. And they really did that with Adrian Peterson. They did it with Britney Spears' sister this season too, Jamie Lynn Spears, who also has her own controversies, much less than Adrian Peterson. Just that they feel like she contributed to Britney's conservatorship, and that's debatable, honestly. But a lot of people go on Dancing with the Stars to rehab their image. But where do you draw the line? I think that was the question.
And you mentioned, does the show call it clickbait casting, or is that what the fan base calls it?
So this was a reporter asking, why do you do clickbait casting? And they defended that. And I'll give you the quote on that because that was also kind of interesting. This was also by Dina Katz. She said, "All of us, unfortunately, have to do a little bit of that clickbait that gets people there. All of us are great storytellers. And at the end of the day, we're telling really good stories."
I don't argue if you're telling a really good story, you don't need to do as much clickbait stuff because the substance of what you're trying to do should speak for itself.
clickbait, I feel like often in times with like for what they're going for tends to also be controversial because you can get a good story and like have like, for instance, just because I am exposed to it because I watch it all the time, Survivor, they have like very emotional stuff and that's like the substance underneath. And yeah, they cast and they select people in a certain way, but I feel like they're not getting like felons and stuff like, or like people that have like hit their girlfriends in the past on the show for a rebuild and like to like going out on this island is how I'm going to fix my life. No, like they're getting people that from a troubled past. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like when they had Amy Purdy, she was a Paralympian. She was an amputee below the knees on both legs. And it was really inspiring to watch her dance and how they used different devices, different types of footing for her to be able to dance. It was incredible. Prosthetics, I should say, is probably the better word. And I think like those stories, those are the ones that you sit there and go, tragedy to triumph. But when you take someone like Adrian Peterson, he's just looking to rewrite his story and hopefully people just forget it because they don't bring up like, I had domestic violence allegations. I beat up my son. Like they don't bring that up in the packages whatsoever. So I think there's a big difference in those two stories, which makes me think, by the way, that they're going to try and they're probably going after her very hard. Gypsy Rose Blanchard. That's my guess for fall.
Yeah, that would make sense because she's like the biggest now new kind of celebrity that we have.
And maybe I might be the only one. I don't know. Tom, do you know who? I've heard this name. I don't know who she is.
She was it Munchausen by proxy, right, Kristen?
Yeah, so her mother had Munchausen by proxy, where she constantly said that her daughter was sick and dying from cancer. Kept her daughter in this sort of like ill state, even though she wasn't, which is obviously a mental health disorder. And Gypsy and her then boyfriend went and created a whole plot to murder her mother.
Yeah, stabbed her a bunch. And they met online, and she kind of convinced him or he helped convince her to kill it.
Yeah, he executed the murder. I think she like coerced him into doing it and served, I believe it was 8 years. She is out, has become a social media sensation. She got married while she was in jail too. This guy is he's a teacher too. I'm like, what is going on with this world? And of course, Lifetime did a documentary on her getting out of jail. She now has a reality show with her husband that'll be forthcoming on Lifetime as well, which we predicted on this show. Yes. So AJ, I don't think you were there, but we did predict it a few months ago.
So is the perception like 50-50? Like some people are like,
no, everybody loves her.
Really?
Like,
okay, I didn't know because she like murdered somebody, but they're saying it's fine.
No, they're saying like she was the victim in all of this.
Okay, I see.
And so like we don't blame you for killing your mother. Okay, a lot of people probably would have, and so yeah, she's definitely coming out of here looking great.
Yeah. Okay,
and the crazy, she's very charming. Like that's you listen to interviews and you're like, I like her. You're also a murderer.
What were you gonna say, Tom?
I got to be honest with you. If Toots had named me Gypsy Rose Barnard, I'd probably kill her too. Gypsy Rose? You named your kid Gypsy Rose? Great. Really?
And Tom, you would be on Dancing with the Stars in the fall.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I could see because Herman Munster and I got that same move on the dance floor, so that'll work out really well.
I don't know. Martin Cove did it, and he was a terrible dancer.
He did.
He made it 2 weeks, and then they were like, "We got to let you go."
He loved this move. He is a weird guy. Have you ever met him?
I have from covering Dancing with the Stars, but gosh, do I love him on Cobra Kai.
Yep.
He's perfect. He is perfect in that series.
He played dead for a while,
On the show?
Yeah.
And then
they pretended he was dead, and all of a sudden he came storming back just in time to kick the piss out of somebody.
Like all good villains.
Like all good villains, exactly. All right, sister, another brilliant report, I thought.
I'm trying to bring you a little Minnesota from Hollywood.
When are you coming to town?
I don't know. If I buy my gymnastics tickets, I'll be here in June.
You'll be in Minnesota in June.
If I get those gymnastics tickets, but I gotta
when you get those gymnastics.
When I get them.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It's because I'm waiting for them to do just like the women's package and the men's package, but I have a feeling they're just trying to sell out you have to buy all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. June, be here.
Or be square.
Wouldn't it be there? We got Square Grouper. Now we got Square Tommy. We got
Or
it
just
all.
give everyone a heart because it's the week of love.
It is the week of, tomorrow. What do you got planned?
I don't know yet. I'm going to leave that up to Bill.
Bill's
what about
panicking.
Bill?
He's like sweating.
Clock's ticking.
Yeah, what about you
Bill's
making an effort?
Oh, I will, of course. But, when it comes to like plans, it's the gentleman's job.
It is.
Yeah.
What are you doing for Catherine? Nobody sounds very convinced we all know this is a manufactured holiday, so.
It is, yeah, to make money.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, but what are you doing for Catherine?
She doesn't want to do anything.
Don't believe her. Don't believe her.
Don't believe her?
I don't fall for that trap, Tom.
All right.
At least get some flowers.
No question about it. And by the way, to all you wonderful people on social media, yes, I know she's far too good for me, so shut up. Let's just keep moving. All right, we'll talk to you later.
See you tomorrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kristen Bird Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. That is going to do it. The family show's up in about 15 minutes, and we'll talk to you on this show tomorrow.